So, hi everybody. So I'm going to prepare the crust here at home in advance and have that ready for when our cheesecake is ready to go into the pan. So it's very simple. You need 1.5 cups of graham crackers crushed and a 1/4 pound of butter melted. So I've gone ahead and melted the butter. This is a 1/4 pound, 4 ounces of butter melted in my microwave. You can do it on the stove top too if you want, but why bother? And then you're going to want 1.5 cups of graham cracker crumbs. Now you can use the pre-made graham cracker crumbs. I couldn't find them, so I actually have stacks of graham crackers here. Just regular everyday Honey Made or Compliments or whatever brand. And for about 1.5 cups, you're going to need between 10 and 14, I estimate. So right now I'm just going to take, I don't even know how many this is. 3, 6, 9. Like it's 12. So I'm just going to go ahead and put those into my food processor. And if you don't have a food processor, then what you can do is you can then put them in a plastic bag, a Ziploc bag, and crush them with a rolling pin, or go old style Italian and crush them with your feet. Just make sure you don't get crumbs all over your house. It's a lot of fun to do it manually too. It can really get your frustrations over COVID out, I'm sure. But I'm going to use the food processor because it's here and it's much easier and possibly faster. So here I've just broken all these up into sections because my food processor is quite old and doesn't deal well with big chunks of things. So I'm a very messy cook as well, so I've got my handy dandy apron here so that I'm constantly wiping my hands. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to crush this, and then afterwards we're going to add the butter. All right, so here we go. And that was about 10 seconds or so, and they're nowhere near crushed. So it's going to take about a half a minute. So almost there. So consistency-wise, I have a few small chunks still that haven't broken up, you can see. So I'm going to do this one more minute or so, or half a minute or so, but mostly it's like sand. I don't know if you can see that, but it's basically like sand, and you're going to get a nice smooth consistency. Sometimes it takes pulsing it. And if it's really not completely broken up, I would say just go through it quickly with your fork and see if there's any chunks still, and if there are, just take those chunks out and enjoy. Have a snack. So what we're going to do, this is the way my mother always did it. She always took a measuring cup, a 2-cup measuring cup, and she put the graham crackers in the measuring cup. So we're going to hope that this is about 1.5 cups. Normally I would have a spatula here, but I didn't bring one over, but that's okay. So this is a 2-cup measure, and I think we're pretty much close to exact. And you know what? It doesn't matter if it goes a little bit over. You have a little of extra crust, so you'll make the crust a little bit thicker. But here we go. This is just over. This is exact. Well, yeah, this is pretty close to 1.5 cups, so that was pretty good. So then what you do is you kind of make a little well. You can actually switch to a bowl now because you know, and I'm going to actually ask my husband to bring me over a small bowl. I'm going to switch it from the measuring cup to a bowl, and it'll be easier to mix everything up that way. You could also just leave it in the food processor. In fact, we could do it that way as well. So you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw it back in the food processor now that I know it is the exact amount that I need. The only reason I took it out was to double check that I had the right amount. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it back in the food processor, and I am going to pour it through the feed spout, and that way I will know, I will be able to have my butter going right in. All right, so here we go. Nope, that's not going to work. I forgot. You have to have this on. Is that going to work? All right, so give me a second here. Why isn't it going? Did I not do enough? Sorry. Okay, I'm just going to pour this in, and little bit by little bit, and then I'll turn it on. Actually, I'm just going to dump it all in. There's all my butter going in. perils of live TV. And we're just going to do this and pulse it a few times. And you want kind of a sandy, wet sand looking crusty kind of mixture. You don't want it looking really goopy. You want it to really look like it's wet sand at the beach. And so that's what we've got here, like wet sand at the beach. Okay? And when you pinch it between your fingers, it should hold together in a little bit of a shape so that when you press it into your pan, it will hold the shape in the pan. So I'm going to do one little more whiz of this because it is a little dry in spots. But really, this is the easiest way to do it. If you don't have a food processor, you can put it into a bowl and just mix it up with a fork. That's how my mom always did it. We never had a food processor. And then, you know, when it's at the consistency you need, you'll press it into the pan. So I'm going to pulse it a few more times. And that should be good. All right, so the next step is pouring it into our pan. So I have my 9 or 10 inch lightly greased springform pan. Springform has this bottom that comes out. If you don't have a springform pan, you can do this in a rectangular glass pan or a rectangular cake pan, 9 by 13. The cake will be either slightly taller or slightly shorter, depending on how big your pan is, but what the recipe recommends is this size, so that's what I'm going to use. So you just dump all of that in there, and you can use a spatula or fork or whatever you need. And then we are going to press that down and across the bottom and up the sides a tiny bit. You don't want it too thick and you don't want it too thin. I don't know, there's not really another way to explain that better than that. So that's what it's going to look like, and here we go. I'm going to press this down, and don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Just make sure they're clean to start. And you really just want to get a good coverage with very few cracks, if any at all. And push it up the side just a tiny bit, maybe a quarter to a half an inch at the most, and I'm going to show you this in the end. And that will be your crust. Try to get it as evenly distributed as possible because you don't really want different thicknesses of crust all over the cheesecake. But this is a classic crust, and you can actually do this with digestive biscuits, or you can do this with Oreo cookies, or just Oreo cookie crumbs. If you want to make it really extra special and decadent, you can take actual Oreo cookies with the filling in it and make the crust that way. However, it will be a little bit more wet when you're using the filling, as opposed to just using the crumbs. So I think we're just about done here. It might not be perfectly even, but it's pretty good. I'm not one for 100% accuracy. So there we go. It's up the sides a tiny bit. It's covering the full pan, and it looks pretty even to me. I'll probably fiddle with it a little bit more, but for the time being, that's good. And what that's going to do is that's going to chill, and then when we add the cake, it'll be nice and cold for the cake to go on it. So that was that little part, and looking forward to baking the rest of it with you.